to limited capacity.
Can you say that again, Clayton? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying when I made sure to test, because this is a new platform, so I tested my audio and I got like a really nice song. So I appreciate that.
Well, you're coming through loud and clear. We appreciate you being with us, and we have some questions to ask. And if you have any questions for us, we'll take those at the end. Who'd like to start? Yeah.
Clayton, this is Dominique Nacarado. I'm a Salida City Council person. It's nice to meet you. My first question, why are you interested in this municipal court prosecutor position?
This is what I do. So I have moved my entire practice into the practice of municipal law and municipal prosecution. And so this is just another opportunity to partner with another municipality and provide prosecutorial services, which is what I like.
Thanks. Who'd like to go next?
I'll go with it.
Okay.
This is Elisa, and our next question is, tell us about your experience with prosecuting cases in municipal court.
Okay, I'll give you broad strokes. I have 6 years experience in municipal courts in Colorado. I'm very familiar with all things from code enforcement to civil to criminal, and everything in between. I have, I've prosecuted probably thousands of cases at this point. I also am very good at effective negotiation and pretrial communication, negotiation with defendants and defendants with representation. And so, my goal is to always get to justice, but do it in an effective manner. I've also have over a year experience on the bench as a municipal judge, which has allowed me to kind of gain a unique perspective. Judges, as you're aware, know nothing about facts of a municipal case. So it forces you into a very procedural heavy role until you get to a trial, of course. And so I was able to really hone my skills and learn to understand the municipal procedure a lot better coming from that year on the bench. So, I have a lot of experience. That's why I couldn't be there with you in person today. I had a full docket in Pagosa Springs Municipal Court. And so, I wish I could have been there in person to meet you. But this is all I could swing today. So yeah, I'm doing it right now. I've done it for years and I'm going to keep doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take the next one.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, this is Suzanne Fontana. What do you know about our community and the specific needs of our municipal court?
Thank you, Suzanne. I live in Southwest Colorado and I actually go right through and spend a lot of time in Salida. I represent Westcliff and I also represent Coal Creek. I know that on the town administrative side, you guys are kind of the tip of the spear for affordable housing and operating, in a place where a lot of municipalities have struggle. I know that typical problems are going to be related to the things that are kind of pesky but need attention. What some people call nuisance laws, anything from people who won't mow their lawn to trash in the front to dogs running around off leash. And those are the types of pesky cases that I think a lot of towns don't expect to see so much trouble with. But it's just how it ends up working out. And so my understanding is that you guys are looking for someone that has experience in everything from traffic cases, which I'm very familiar with, municipal traffic code and how to prosecute those cases and how they interact with DMV and what the town's municipality's role in that, all the way to, small criminal cases and of course your nuisance laws. obviously don't track your data, but I've prosecuted in half a dozen municipalities, and those seem to always be the hot spots. And I have experience in all those areas.
Thank you.
Hey, Clayton, this is Justin Critelli. Our next question is, how do you stay updated on changes in relevant laws and legal precedents to enhance your effectiveness as a municipal prosecutor?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. So I am a member of the CML prosecutors group, and I also keep up to date with all House bills that affect local municipalities. The most recent one, has mostly to do with juvenile prosecutions, and of course, I'm sure you guys are aware of some municipalities' role in prosecuting juvenile offenders and sort of the new laws that are coming out surrounding that. And so I'm also on the legislative review committee that is operated by Judge Frick on the Front Range. And so I participate in legislative reviews on that committee, and also, keep up to date through my CML connections.
Thank you.
As well as self-study. I do personally look at House bills, which a lot of people don't, but they're very important.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Clayton. Aaron Stevens here. Next question. Describe your experience working with law enforcement officers and other court personnel.
Okay, I will, Aaron. So I have extensive experience with law enforcement. Obviously, I feel that having a good relationship with law enforcement and having a handoff procedure is very important. Law enforcement is kind of the beginning of any case. As you're aware, they write tickets. I do training with law enforcement to help them around certain pitfalls in ticket writing. For example, in municipal traffic code, careless driving is very hard to prove. However, there are other kind of parallel charges that you can make: driving too fast for conditions, following too closely, based on the facts that are easier to get through to a conviction versus a careless driving charge. And that's just, one example. And so I train with and also personally get to know law enforcement that I work with because I prosecute their cases. I also do pre-trial training with young officers to practice what it's going to look like to go through, say, just a speeding case. I think young officers are surprised to find out how complicated a speeding case can turn out just based on their understanding and ability to testify regarding like a tuning fork, as an example. So I really feel like that's really, really important. I also have great relationships with all my court staff. I would please encourage you to reach out and speak with any of my town clerks and any of my court clerks and ask them if I'm easy to get along with, and if we have a good working relationship, if not a friendship. So to me, the relationship is probably the most important part, because we all have to work together and know our respective roles. And I couldn't respect law enforcement and appreciate them more. And the same goes for any of my court or town staff that I have to interact with. I mean, it's all about respect and relationship to get the job done.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Clayton, Dan Shore here. Next question is, what strategies do you use to manage your caseload and workload effectively?
Just organize. So I show you around my office, but I have case files, and I basically triage case files and prioritize based on, an order of operations ranging from important to vital, and making sure that I front load the appropriate cases. Obviously, if I have a trial, preparation is important, making sure that I meet my motions, hearing requirements, et cetera. And so I just schedule everything. I have electronic calendars that overlap with different jurisdictions. And I also have my trusted handwritten scheduling book, which I call it my big black book. And because I don't know if you're aware, but the public defender's office in the 6th district here in La Plata County actually got hacked, and they've been pretty much mission inoperative for the past like 3 to 4 weeks. And it's really thrown a wrench in things, but all my stuff is not backed up to, some cloud somewhere. I have hard drives with all my information, and my scheduling is, in my control. And so I just think that organization is key. Heavy caseloads, they run like anything else. You just have to triage what's first and then, or what's important and then what's first, and just continually process and move cases until, you get them where you need to be. So I suppose I could show you, but the answer is just that I'm an incredibly organized person because I have different jurisdictions, and I have to make sure that I don't get double slotted for a hearing on a certain day. And so I'm very protective of my schedule.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Clayton, this is Dominique again. What would you say your response time would be to answer an inquiry from court staff and from a defendant?
From a defendant is different than court staff. So I'll take court staff first. Court staff is immediate. I give court staff my personal phone, and you can text or call me at any time. If I'm not in court or in a hearing, I will respond typically within an hour. If I'm dealing with defendants, that's totally separate. Typically I don't deal with defendants until they've entered a plea and or waived their right to an attorney on record. But if I am in negotiations with a defendant, I typically will try to keep my interactions with them in writing via email, because I don't want, if something goes wrong or if there's an appeal on a case, I don't want my personal phone taken away from me as a piece of evidence or discovery. And B, I need to maintain a certain separation from defendants, because even if they're not represented, they are technically, pro se if they're representing themselves, which means I do treat them as a professional and with respect, but also understand that they're representing themselves, and that they don't get to basically get into my personal schedule on their terms. There's just too many people that would end up texting and calling me, and I wouldn't be able to answer questions for my client, which is the town.
Great, thank you.
And then no, that's not the last one. How do you ensure you are prepared for every court appearance?
Well, the level of preparation really depends on what sort of hearing I'm going to. Typically, I won't waste town's time and resources and money by, going through 4 hours of accident body cam footage for an arrest before I get to an arraignment, because I could end up charging the town 4 hours for discovery and research when the guy was going to show up and plead guilty. And so it really, really depends on what type of hearing it is. I make sure that I have spatial and informational awareness of tickets. So when I show up to court, for example, for an arraignment, I understand what the charge was, when it happened, and I have some basic knowledge and some basic due diligence on what the ticket is about, typically by reading the ticket or summons or whatever triggered the process. However, if we get into issues such as someone pleading not guilty and I'm dealing with a bench trial, then my level of preparation increases, and I go back and go through all the discovery I need to, preparation of witnesses, continuing negotiations with defendants, et cetera. And so it really, really depends on what sort of hearing I'm dealing with, and that kind of goes back to that organization and understanding how to triage a case, from summons to plea.
Thank you.
Suzanne, do you want to take the next one?
Yes, I do. This is Suzanne again. Given your busy schedule, how much time would you be able to dedicate to the Salida court prosecution?
My understanding is that you guys have a caseload that would require me to be in court once a month, which I have more than enough time for. I also have time, throughout the week, et cetera, to answer questions and prep and work with staff to work on whatever the preparation for the docket is for that month. If there was a case that required extra time and energy, say we had to do a jury trial on a misdemeanor assault case, then I make time. And typically right now Fridays are good for me. I try not to work as much as possible on Fridays because I try to pack it in Monday through Thursday. And given a couple Fridays to Salida would not be an issue. And then of course being able to add hours in between during the week would not be an issue either. I don't typically work from 8 to 8 nonstop. I always have time to respond to questions, emails, texts, however you guys would choose to contact me.
All right. And who will be your backup prosecuting attorney?
I don't have a backup. I don't see that as a weakness. However, because I'm not in Salida, I don't see any probability of a conflict. Typically what I work with my towns and understand that I do represent a lot of other towns and prosecute for them. What ends up happening is I work with court staff way ahead for like any planned vacation and or time away that I would need to take. And then we simply will move a docket from time to time if it's required. It's very rare, that you have to move a docket. The other thing about backup attorneys is, having a backup prosecutor only works so well if that person is constantly working on those cases, because the amount of understanding and preparation that might come to a certain day would force the town to have to reschedule a docket anyway, because you can't just show up and say, for example, prosecute a case if you have no background knowledge or understanding of it. So just walking into a court as a case of first impression isn't necessarily a great strategy. So I always just tell my clients, look, I know it's just me, and that gives some people pause, but again, I encourage you to reach out to my references or any of the people in the towns that I represent and ask them, how difficult it is to keep on schedule or keep a docket. I think they would tell you what I'm telling you, which is it's very rare that me being the only attorney is ever a problem, especially in places where I know for a fact that I won't have any conflicts.
Thank you.
In municipal court, most defendants are not represented by counsel. How do you deal with a difficult or uncooperative defendant?
You broke up there. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, I can start again. In municipal court, most defendants are not represented by counsel. How do you deal with a difficult or uncooperative defendant?
Yeah, so that's correct. Most defendants end up going pro se. They don't feel like their traffic ticket or their misdemeanor is enough to warrant them spending money on an attorney. I typically start by being, of course, I'm very respectful. I always give people the benefit of the doubt to start out. But then, of course, as your question suggests, some people are very difficult and hard to work with. What I typically tend to do is just be respectful and professional and continue with the process. So regardless of the person's cooperation, the process is going to continue. And so I will usually give somebody the benefit of the doubt, for example, that, okay, you're not cooperating. They've claimed to be, I don't know, a sovereign citizen or wanting to challenge jurisdiction or something along those lines. And, or they're just disorderly, the process will continue to run regardless of their cooperation. And so what I say is like, look, I appreciate your perspective. I understand you're upset. I understand you're frustrated. I have a job to do. I'm happy to continue this for you to consider getting another attorney or what you want to do. But the next step is this arraignment, and whether you're going to have to enter a plea one way or the other. And then, I take care of that step. And then at the next step, if we're at a pretrial and the person's still non-cooperative or they don't want to talk to me, then I just continue with the process. Okay, judge, I was not able to negotiate with the defendant. They don't want to speak with me. They had some choice words for me and some very pointed opinions as to my competence, et cetera. And so I think it's best that we just move forward with the pretrial conference and set this for trial, and on we go with the process. And so I've had people, physically threaten me, and I've had, mostly great people, but I've seen it all. And so, I know how to deal with non-cooperative personnel, and I know, unfortunately, that's a reality for the clerks and staff as well. And so I also work with them to, deal with getting that person through the process, even if they're, non-cooperative.
And then how do you effectively communicate with defendants and victims in municipal court cases?
Well, the best time, obviously, for that is either pre-arraignment if they're, wanting to represent themselves, or at a pretrial. And so I will set aside my time after an arraignment or before to do one-on-one discussions with defendants. If they want to speak with me and they want to tell me their side of the story, I feel like more than half the time, a judge can't hear that, because obviously anything they say in court could be used against them, and judges don't want to know facts before a trial, which is the way it's supposed to be. But I feel like most people just want to be heard. They want to be able to tell their side of the story, and they want to know that somebody actually cares, and they're not just caught up in a, this huge, what they would consider like the government machine. I'm very empathetic with people. I understand and can relate to people very quickly, especially as it, when it comes to being frustrated with the system. I do felony defense work for the Colorado Alternate Defense Council. And so I actually have quite a few clients that I've represented in felony defense cases. And that has also really helped me I truly empathize with people and understand, how to represent the other side of it as well. And so while I don't give legal advice to defendants, I do give them time to speak. And I think that's very important. And I also have an open mind. And so if they tell me something that I can, that would hurt my case, that I can verify, then I will tell them, look, if that's true, in some situations I'll say, if that's true, I'll have to amend the charge or I'll have to dismiss the case. Let's talk about that. And so basically, I think it's really just treating somebody with respect, listening, giving them one-on-one time, and really truly understanding, trying to meet them where they're at, and not just be, and kind of, I guess, not let my ego or my position and just kind of shove the charge down their throat and just say, well, this is what you're charged with, and this is what I'm going to prosecute you for. I don't think that's a really, I don't think it's an effective way to prosecute. I don't think it's efficient for the town either, because you end up getting caught up in a lot of extended trials and hearings that are totally unnecessary, when really you just need to listen to the person and possibly negotiate settlement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. And if you have any questions for us about the position or the court, we'll do our best to answer them.
And this is the Salida Town Council, is that correct?
Yes.
City Council?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I just, excited for the opportunity. Like I said, I represent other jurisdictions in that area, and, you guys are just a favorite place for me, just because, it's kind of like the big city coming from Pagosa. And I really do truly appreciate kind of your progress with leading the way with affordable housing and just how you guys have taken some pretty, admirable leaps and made some pretty, incredible decisions that have helped your community. And I do take a lot of what you guys do and advise my towns kind of the same way and use you guys as examples. So I just wanted to say that. I'm not saying that. I mean, it does sound like I'm sucking up. I know that, but I really mean what I say. I really do like Salida. I love the example you guys have provided. And, that's really why I'm interested in just, continuing to expand my practice and, in my area of operations into that jurisdiction. It was a really interesting opportunity. I know that you guys had put this out once, and at the time I had other civil clients that precluded me from wanting to put my name in the hat, so to speak. But I'm, completely free of those, and I want to continue to grow my practice with municipal clients, and I couldn't think of anybody better to partner with than Salida. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
And I hope that you guys don't know really how municipal court works, because that means you guys are speeding around town or not mowing your lawn or doing something.
Xeriscape.
Thank you, Clayton.
There you go.
Thank you.
So
Thanks so much.
I don't have any other questions. I really can't emphasize enough how comfortable I think I'd be and how streamlined it could be if I was able to represent Salida as a prosecutor. I understand municipal process and municipal criminal, civil, and nuisance law very well. So I look forward to the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, David, could you ask Karen Lintott to come in? Yes. Thank you so much.
You want to,
It's per interview.
what?
30 minutes per interview. It's a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Great. But now that we've done it, we have to do it.
I know, we're committed.
I know. I know. I was thinking the same thing.
We should have struck it.
Yeah.
Where's the hot seat?
Well, you can stand and then,
That's actually nice of this.
yeah. We appreciate you being here with us tonight, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to make it because I was worried. Sometimes the verdicts don't come back until we've gone as late as 7 o'clock at
Oh.
night. So our verdict came back in 12 minutes.
Great.
Fantastic.
Very good.
Yep. Very happy.
Awesome. Well, we have a list of questions that we'll be asking, and who would like to start? Let's go with Elisa. Yeah.
Well, or we could do the same order.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
Karen, welcome. My name's Dominique Nacarado. I'm with Salida City Council.
Hi.
Would you mind telling us why are you interested in this municipal court prosecutor position?
I was approached but first off, I'm the county court prosecutor for Chafee. So I've held that position for about a year. And I was approached January 2, 3. I was up prepping one of our officers for trial in January, and Chief Johnson said, hey, we're having difficulty finding a prosecutor for the city. It used to be that, from my understanding, the county court DDA also was your city prosecutor. Said, would you consider it? I said, sure. So that's how it happened for me. It wouldn't have been, unless it was okay for me to do it, because I'm an employee of the district.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Karen, I'm Elisa.
Hi, Lisa, how are you?
I'm
I think
good.
we've met before.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell us about your experience with prosecuting cases in municipal court.
My experience of prosecuting cases in municipal court, I was the city attorney for the city of Monte Vista, 2017 through halfway through 2018. So I was their municipal prosecutor. That was my experience. Do y'all have my resume?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We just have to go through the same question.
Yeah,
With
just
you.
to be fair to everybody.
I'm sorry, I forgot how this goes.
Right, all right. Suzanne? We have someone online.
Oh, hello.
Hello, my name is Suzanne. What do you know about our community, which seems silly if you already know about Chaffey County, but what do you know about our community and the specific needs of our municipal court?
Well, hi. I'm going to make some assumptions here based on I live here. I live right down Two Rivers. I've been in the community since 2018. Prior to that, I was down in the valley. I did a lot of municipal, representing a lot of the municipalities down there. So if just reading the articles, talking to our law enforcement, Salida PD, I also work with BVPD and the sheriffs. And from what I understand, the challenges are mainly how do you hold people accountable, especially with the theft, the increase in those types of crimes. And basically in county court, that I'm dealing with the parallel from that perspective. For example, today we just prosecuted and got a conviction on a woman who waltzed into Walmart and walked out with $400 worth of goods. And this happens on a daily basis, and I get a lot of those cases. And so if I'm not mistaken, y'all are dealing with very similar issues. And as it is so hard, especially when you're dealing with a homeless population and you're dealing with people who need services, and we don't have services. We don't have very much to offer some of these people that, for example, it's a theft and they steal, a 6-pack of beer from the Safeway. You know that they're homeless. You know that they're not going to be able to pay a fine. How are you going to get them to do useful public service, for example? You're not going to put them in jail because they'll have a public defender. That's what we have in county court. I don't think you do in municipal court. You do have them now?
No, we don't.
You don't. And that was a whole another complicated thing that we went through with Monte Vista is that, it used to be that you could put folks in municipal court in jail, and now you have to, under the Sixth Amendment, then the municipality has to incur the extra expense of providing them with counsel. So where I am, that's unrealistic because, they're going to get a public defender and set it for trial. It's my long-winded way of saying I think that the issues that I'm dealing with in county court are probably pretty similar. Check me if I'm wrong. Does that sound about right? I mean, I haven't come and sat in municipal court. So I think what we're frustrated in county court with the resources that we have. And so I'm doing some, different kind of deferred prosecutions, some diversion. We work with full circle restorative justice. But it's really challenging where we're all at as a community. Is that responsive, I hope?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little long-winded. It's been a really long day, so I apologize.
It's all right.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
Happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here as well.
Good. So my question is, how do you stay updated on changes in relevant laws and legal procedures to enhance your effectiveness as a municipal prosecutor?
That was legal precedents. Precedents,
What did he say?
procedures.
Oh, I
Well, it's
did.
procedures too, because those can change too.
Okay, thank you.
No.
We want to be.
Procedures, precedents, they're
We
all.
want to be
keywords.
exactly how we did it last time, and then
Okay.
the next time too. So yes, exactly how I said it last time.
Stick with that. I understand what you were saying. I mean, it basically in my work that, we go through trainings all the time. It's available. There's a lot of resources for district attorneys. And in terms of the municipal, it's the same thing. You've got to keep up to date, but there's, at least when I was doing the municipal work, we had the Colorado Municipal League, went to the conferences. They have all kinds of resources where they literally keep their members up to date on changes in the municipal law arena. And we have kind of a similar thing that goes on with our changes in criminal law. So that's how I stay up to date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Karen, how are you? I'm Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Can you please describe your experience working with law enforcement officers and other court personnel?
I work with law enforcement all the time. That's, you know, they're bringing us the cases. I look at it as a very collaborative, you know, you have to have there has to be a strong relationship with similar goals, because if law enforcement doesn't have a robust prosecutor, then what they're doing, the goals that they have aren't realized because the cases don't go anywhere. So part of what I have done is I've really reached out to law enforcement. I've gone on ride-alongs with CSP, with Salida PD. I went with Kat Segala. We went out. And I also went along with Buena Vista PD, their Sergeant Adair, who's now an officer, just to see what are they doing, what are they seeing, so that I can train myself to look at things from their perspective, which makes me a much more effective prosecutor when I am trying to tell their story, what they saw, what were the facts and circumstances that caused them to make this arrest. So I've done that. It's been great, and I talk to, they reach out. Salida PD or any of the four agencies that we cover reach out on a regular basis. We do, our office, not me, although just a little tangentially, we also do the prosecution for the DOC. So there is some contact. There's also contact with the folks in the jail. I mean, this is daily. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, sounds really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I'm Dan Shore. Thanks for being here.
Mr. Shore, nice to meet you.
Just curious about strategies used to manage your caseload and workload effectively.
Well, that's been interesting because definitely in county court, it's all about volume. And I have to make decisions about what is important to this community. How can I best use the resources of not only my office, me, my staff, but also community, you know, the law enforcement, because you don't want to be going to trial on a bunch of stuff and burning up resources. It's also our judicial resources. So, and it takes a while to figure out what is important, but basically what I try to do is focus on those cases and areas where I think in county court I can get the most bang for the buck. So in other words, if I have, you know, I'm just dealing with misdemeanors. I'm not dealing with any, you know, complicated felonies. But it struck me when I was looking at the different kind of cases that come. You get, you know, low-level domestic violence, you get traffic infractions, crashes, and things like that. We get theft, of course, but DUI. And so when I looked at this, I realized probably the best thing that I can do is have a robust prosecution of DUI cases, because that is, again, this is my opinion, although I think it's shared by a lot of people. That to me is one of the most dangerous crimes, because it's indiscriminate. Somebody gets loaded, they drive, and they have the ability to kill other people. So I guess in answer to your question, it's about prioritizing today's case, the Walmart case, the theft case. Normally, everybody would say, well, why are you prosecuting this case? Or normally we wouldn't prosecute it, but she wouldn't settle. She wouldn't, I always offer plea deals because that's what we do. And I also realized reading, there's a number of articles in the paper where you all have, I guess they're reporting on your work sessions, your conversations with the municipal judge, Chief Johnson, Chief Morgan. Theft is an issue. And I thought, well, okay, then let's go prosecute. Let's start moving in a direction of prosecuting those theft cases, and maybe it will have an impact. So that's kind of an answer to your question. How do you manage the workload? It ebbs and flows like anything else, and some things I have to let go of. But I work a lot. You learn to work effectively. You learn to try to, focus on the cases where you think it will make a difference. So you can't go after everything.
Thank you.
What would you say your response time would be to answer an inquiry from court staff and from a defendant?
It's an interesting question, because I have everything on my phone now. It's pretty instantaneous. A lot of communication now is in text, which is weird for me as an attorney, because as a civil attorney, I never wanted to move into responding to people with text, but it's fairly instantaneous unless I'm in court and otherwise available. If somebody needs to reach me, like all law enforcement, they all have my personal cell number. So if they need to reach me, they just call and text me, and it ends up being, weekends. I get calls on the weekends. I got a call from, one of the deputies this weekend and said, hey, I've got this case coming in. I just want to run it by you. Where do you think we're at with that? And that's the same thing for Joanne Mirando. They'll call us after hours, because if something's coming in and they want to go for a warrant or an arrest, or they have an emergent situation, we need to be available. So that's, I never, my back in the day, my policy was to never allow more than 24 hours to pass without a response. But that was old technology. Now it's really, really quick.
Thank you.
Sure.
And how do you ensure you are prepared for every court appearance?
I've been practicing law for 28 years. It's not, I never go into court unprepared. It's just it's interesting when people, think that, it's me, it's my reputation, it's my word. And so I do whatever I need to do. I've been up since I think 4 this morning. I was at Walmart walking the aisles last night with Mr. Cemental to prepare. It's just what I do. It's how, if you're going to do this kind of work and take the time of the citizenry, the community, to put a case before them, it better have everything, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So I've never had a problem being prepared.
Thanks.
Hello, it's Suzanne again, online here.
Hi, Suzanne.
Given your busy schedule, how much time would you be able to dedicate to the Salida court prosecution?
I don't know how much time the Salida court prosecution demands. I understand I didn't have any kind of parameters as to what this was, other than it's a Friday docket once a month. That's the information that I had. I reached out to my boss immediately, but before I put anything in, and said, is this okay? Can I do this? And she said, sure. So I don't know how to answer that question because I don't know what it's requiring.
Thanks.
And who will be your backup prosecuting attorney?
I don't have a backup prosecuting attorney.
Okay.
I'm not a firm. I mean, this is one of the things it's a little bit of a wrinkle because I didn't hear back. I understand the county court DA was able to do this prior to, and that it would be something that has been done before, but I don't have any, I didn't receive any information as to, I mean, I'll work with whatever, but.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right, in municipal court, most defendants are not represented by counsel. How do you deal with a difficult or uncooperative defendant?
Deal with it all the time. Yeah. Basically, I think, I mean, I've had a lot of different experience, done a lot of different careers, if you will. I was a night manager at the homeless shelter in 22. That's dealing with difficult people. Now, as the county court prosecutor, I mean, I'm dealing with people that are representing themselves all the time that have mental health issues. It's a matter of sitting down, talking to people, explaining, this is what you're facing. Let's see how we can work together to get you out of this situation. What do you need? Most times people just need what I find is a little bit of time, somebody to hear them. And theoretically, you can work things out. That's been my experience.
Thanks. And then how do you effectively communicate with defendants and victims in these municipal court cases?
In the same way that I communicate with in the county court docket. I mean, I'm dealing with victims all the time. And I don't, in county court, we deal with the Victims' Rights Act. And that means that I have to talk to victims, and I have to be really careful about what I do so that I don't become a witness, which can happen when you're listening to a victim's story. But basically, it's the same thing. It's just listening to people. Where are you at? What do you need? Why are you here? Why are you on my docket? What has brought you to this place? And how can we resolve your situation so that you can get off my docket? Because I'm assuming you don't want to be here.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us about the position or the court?
Yes?
We'll do our best to answer them.
Again, I didn't get any information as to how it would work with me doing my current role. Is there any conflict with that?
We don't see any conflict.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Again, what is the hours? What are the number of cases? I don't have any information as to what that is.
Sure. Sarah's can respond.
I'm the court clerk, so I can chime in on that. So it is Fridays, starting around 8:30 to start meeting with defendants. And then we have initial arraignment anywhere between 9 to 12. We have a very small phone court for those who live outside of City of Salida, and then our afternoon are dedicated for payment review or trials.
Okay.
In terms of workload past that, the court clerk sends the caseload a week prior to the prosecutor for them to review and have the cases so they're prepared for that Friday morning.
How many cases are you looking at on an average, and it's once a month, yeah?
It's once a month, and it ebbs and flows for the seasons, but I would say we're trending a little higher, so 50 persons, maybe 60 cases in the morning docket, and then we'll have a handful in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I'm handling, like I had a trial today, tomorrow I roll over into county court docket, I'll have 80 cases on the docket tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we usually have motions or probation revocation hearings and advisements and then preparing. So I don't see that as a difficulty for me to handle particularly, and I've been in this job for a year. This is my 8th conviction, so I'm doing something right in terms of getting, because if you're a prosecutor, getting the conviction is kind of the idea. And I think good results. So I think what that's done is I've gotten a lot more efficient. And I think if I can be efficient with a county court docket, probably the lower level, and it's not to be insulting or anything, it's just less complicated. It's less complicated. A ticket for, I don't know, vagrancy or a lower level theft, like this was a lot easier than having to do a DUI trial. DUI trials, the jury usually doesn't get the case until 5. Here, the jury got the case at 1:30, which is, it's a big difference. So I think that it won't be a problem for me to keep pace.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the
Thank
interest
you.
in your time.
All right, nice to meet y'all.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
David, would you mind grabbing Lisa? Thanks.
You caught him in the middle of his daydream.
I know, sorry. I just.
It's a cart full of groceries for me. Not an inconspicuous one.
Are we staying?
Yeah,
Whatever you want to.
Right up to the microphone.
Yeah.
that way we can't say we put you on a hot seat.
Yeah.
Right, the hot stand.
We really appreciate you being here tonight.
Absolutely.
Thanks. And so the way it'll work, we're going to go around and ask questions, and they're the same questions that were asked of the other candidates, just to keep it really fair. And Councilmember Nakarado will start.
Sounds good.
Hi, Lisa. My name's Dominique.
Hi.
Salida City Council. And why are you interested in this municipal court prosecutor position?
Well, so I switched my focus in my career about 5 years ago and left the prosecution world as a deputy district attorney. I was working here in the 12th, but I had moved from the 1st Judicial District up in Denver, Golden area, just the year before. And sort of life situations made it necessary to scale back on my career time, spend more family and home time. And so I sort of left doing attorney work for about 6 months, but missed it greatly. And at that point, openings came up for Buena Vista and Poncha Springs for a municipal prosecutor. And I thought, that's interesting. That's right up my alley. I can do that. And it's not full time, so I don't have to commit myself to a 60-hour work week and the additional stresses which come with being a full-time deputy district attorney. So that worked well for me, and I have really enjoyed that position for the last 5 years. And when it was right around that time, Salida hired as well. You guys had an opening for your municipal prosecutor, and I toyed at the time with putting in, and I wasn't sure time-wise if that was going to be the right thing, because I was working a 40-hour job and doing the municipal with Buena Vista and Poncha Springs, and I thought, it might be too much. And so I have scaled back. I'm now full-time ranch manager and part-time municipal prosecutor, and that has been a really good balance. And so when Salida opened up again, I thought that's a perfect time it's my community, it's my neighborhood, so it's a perfect opportunity.
Thank you.
Lisa, I'm Lisa.
Hello.
Hello. So tell us about your experience with prosecuting cases in municipal court.
So for municipal court, I started in Buena Vista and in Poncha Springs, like I said, about 5 years ago. And we have, Buena Vista has a monthly docket. And so we do docket once a month. And so I handle all of their municipal violations in Buena Vista. So during that time, that's been my job. So I've been doing that. Their municipal code is very similar to Salida's, although a little less extensive. We have, I would say, a few less violations that are codified there, but very similar. And then Poncha Springs, we did monthly court, but we've scaled back. So now it's bi-monthly court in Poncha Springs. So I've been their municipal prosecutor there too. So I handle, the traffic violations, the city ordinance violations, dogs, building permit problems, all of that there in Buena Vista. And then Poncha Springs is limited. We do mostly traffic because they have not done a lot of ordinances, haven't created a lot yet for their town. So we do traffic really in Poncha Springs. So that's been my experience with municipal prosecution. I had 23 years before that as a deputy district attorney doing felony and misdemeanor level crimes for that time. So
Thank you.
Hi, Lisa. My name is Suzanne. I'm online here with the council.
Hello.
What do you know about our community and the specific needs of our municipal court?
Well, I guess I follow the municipal court as much as most people in Chaffee County probably follow it through, the news and through people talking and what's happening in the neighborhoods and what's happening in the city. That's probably the way that I follow it. I live in the county, but not that far out of town to where I'm out of touch. But that's probably the best way, and through the newspaper and everything like that is how I'm following what's happening in the city and just being here. I also work with Judge Hardy Moore in Poncha Springs, and so we share experiences, if you will, with our municipal courts, what's happening in Buena Vista, what's happening in Salida, what's happening in Poncha, just as part of our work together. And so I'm aware of issues that have come up and different ideas on handling some of those issues. And so that's pretty much how I guess I would say I stay in touch with what's happening in Salida.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Justin.
Hello.
My question is, how do you stay updated on changes in relevant laws and legal precedents to enhance your effectiveness as a municipal prosecutor?
So I'm a member on the Colorado Bar Association's Government Council. I'm the secretary right now for them. I've been an at-large board member for the last 3 years. So we do monthly trainings related to municipal work. We also, generally there's the Colorado Bar Association has a chat group that talks about different issues that are coming up. There's yearly legislative updates done through the Government Council section, as well as the District Attorney's Council, which is a statewide organization for district attorneys' offices, but they also let municipal attorneys participate in some of their trainings. So they do yearly updates. Also, the Municipal League is another group that I'm part of, and they do updates on what's happening in the state legislature. As part of the Bar Association, I'm also in the criminal law section. So they also have updates with that. I'm required to do continuing legal education to keep my license. And so I always focus those credits on what I'm currently doing. So on what's happening with criminal law, as far as the what's happening with the courtroom procedures and the trial procedures, but also with the new statutes in the state. And so that's my only focus. So it's pretty easy to narrow in and find those trainings and stay up to speed on them.
All right. Hey, my name's Aaron.
Hello.
Can you please describe your experience working with law enforcement officers and other court personnel?
So my career has been as a prosecutor, and that necessarily means working hand in hand with law enforcement on the investigation side of any case that comes through. So I've had now 28 years of experience working with law enforcement. Right now I work really closely with the Buena Vista Police Department as part of the municipal cases, and their code enforcement officer. He and I work closely together, usually on most of his cases. We know what's happening and know different ways, different avenues to handle them before they come to court. And so we work real close together on that. Same with the police department. When there's cases that are going to come my way, we talk about them early and make sure we're both on the same page as far as what I need, what they need, and where we're going with them. So I work hand in hand with them. The Chaffee County Sheriff's Department does my traffic for Poncha Springs. That's a little looser, but we work together on those things as well. But 23 years as a deputy district attorney in various roles, it was always coordinating with law enforcement. The court staff is the same. Every day you're with the court staff in those roles, and so you work with them. And right now with Buena Vista and Salida, they have one point person that I work with to get my cases and to set the dockets and to handle continuances and all of that. So we work together on making sure that the docket's moving quickly and efficiently, and people know what's happening.
Thanks. And then the next question is around strategies you use to manage your case and your workloads effectively.
I think my, the best thing for what I've found is with prosecution is to be prepared. I'm the most prepared person in the courtroom. If somebody needs to know what's going on, I know what's going on. And I feel like that's the best way to handle any of these cases. Be the go-to. Either it's law enforcement needs to know, the court needs to know, the clerk needs to know, or the defendant needs to know. Whatever it is, I need to be that go-to person. And so that's what I have found is the best way to keep things rolling and to keep things handled correctly is I'm always prepared, and I always know what's happening with a case, and don't walk in and ask for a continuance. I don't walk in and ask for more time because I haven't done my side of it. So that's, for me, that's what's been the best way to handle everything in municipal court is be prepared. And so I would say that's probably my most efficient method.
Thank you.
What would you say your response time would be to answer an inquiry from court staff and from a defendant?
So I will say court staff, usually with court staff, they have my cell phone and my email. And with email, I respond really pretty quickly that day, unless for some reason I don't have cell service. But generally it's within that day I will send a response. Sometimes the response is, I need to look at the case and I'll get back to you, but with a response. So that's with court personnel, it's pretty immediate. Same with law enforcement, it's pretty immediate. When I receive a call from a defendant who's looking to discuss a case or resolve a case, that type of thing, that takes me a little more time because I'm gonna need to review it, review their history, gather all the documents that I need from law enforcement so that I have all of my information. So that'll take me a little bit more time. Usually it'll be a couple of days. And what I've found works best with my schedule is I set aside a day, like I'll say, okay, Thursday, I'm working on Buena Vista cases. And so I'll return calls on Thursdays. I'll return emails on Thursdays to defendants that call. And then that way I know leading up to Thursday, I'm gathering all my documents, talking to my law enforcement, talking to my clerk, making sure I'm ready for that phone call with them on a Thursday. So that's what's worked well for me is I sort of set aside one day for Buena Vista for dealing with a phone call from a defendant, if that makes sense. Victims, I will call them back to say, I don't know much yet, let me gather information, and then I will call you back when I know more, just to make sure that they know I'm working on it, just so that they know. But it usually takes me longer to have a really informed response for them, because again, I have to gather information from law enforcement side and from the court side and get all my documents in order. So that'll take a little bit longer, but usually I don't do that the same day as the Thursday. I try to do that and then be prepared to talk with a defendant.
Thank you.
How do you ensure you are prepared for every court appearance?
I think the most important thing is talking to all the players, making sure I have what I need from law enforcement, making sure I have what I need from the courts. Because a lot of times that's a criminal history. If law enforcement didn't send it to me, where I get the criminal history is sometimes from my court clerk. So just making sure I have all those pieces together. But that's, I think, the thing for me, is just getting all of that together.
Thank you. So it's Suzanne again, online here. Given your busy schedule, how much time would you be able to dedicate to the Salida court prosecution?
Well, I think I'm imagining it's similar to, and in applying for the position, I imagine it's similar to Buena Vista, and it would be probably at most a like 10 to 12 hour a month commitment, is my guess, with reviewing cases and what I can say is most cases don't, I don't have to spend as much time on most cases. Like traffic cases, I'm pretty in tune with. I know on a speeding case where I'm going to go with those cases, because as a prosecutor, ethically, I have to treat everyone similarly. And so I don't vary much unless there's something super extraordinary. So I know on traffic pretty much where I'm going. So those are pretty quick for me to review. I'm going to call them neighborhood disputes, but anything involving neighbors and properties in that sense, those are going to take longer. So those are where I'll spend the majority of the time. That type of an issue, dog cases sometimes are going to be your high time cases, that type of thing. So just looking at the offense, I can pretty much budget in how much time I'm going to need for that type of an offense, and that type of a case. And so I can do that pretty easily. I mean, I have lots of breaks during the day where I can fit that in. So I don't really see that being much of an issue right now, since I don't have another 40-hour job other than my ranch responsibilities. So.
Thank you.
But it'll fit.
So who will be your backup prosecuting attorney?
So I think that's an interesting question, and I've been toying with that a little bit with Buena Vista, because I don't necessarily have anybody on the hook for it, because it hasn't come up. It's a once a month deal, and it usually, most of the cases they're cases that I can look ahead and talk to people about and plan ahead for, and have a good idea of what's going to happen at the court date. And so most of the time I can either send, and this actually hasn't happened, but I've thought about it in case it did. I can send people ready to court, meaning like a defendant with a ticket. I can send all the paperwork into the court ready to go, so that I don't have a role at the court appearance, just the judge and the defendant do in addressing the plea and the paperwork and the fines and all of that. But I don't really have a role at that point, because I've done my part. For the cases where I would have to be there, also if I've done my legwork and my preparation, a lot of times, we can arrange to continue it to a next date where I would be available, or I do have colleagues that I could call on to step in and do an appearance. I don't love to do that, because they're not going to know the case, they're not going to know the dynamics, they're not going to know the people, and usually that's somebody coming in to ask for a continuance. So I don't love to do that, but I do have colleagues I could call on to do it, but not But I'm hopeful that's not something that comes up. I really am. But if I need to have someone on the hook that you have a name for, I can certainly provide that.
In municipal court, most defendants are not represented by counsel. How do you deal with a difficult or uncooperative defendant?
So I think a lot of times in municipal court, what I found, and a lot of times in even county court, people can be difficult, but a lot of times what people want is they want to be heard. And so I find if you're the person that will listen, you can diffuse a lot of situations. And just giving someone time to do that and can diffuse a lot of situations. I also think being very clear and concise with a person when they've been heard and then maybe they're not listening to you is a good way to move things along. But I also think sometimes, you have to recognize there's not going to be an agreement, and that's why we have trials. And so sometimes you don't have to resolve it outside of a trial. Sometimes people need a trial, and that's okay. That's what our jobs are, and that's why you have court. And so sometimes with someone who's uncooperative in that sense, give them what they want, give them the trial, and handle it that way, and then we all go about our business.
And then how do you effectively communicate with defendants and victims in municipal court cases?
So I think a lot of times, especially with victims, my best way to do that is not in court. I do it outside of court and touch base with people ahead of time and make sure that they know what's coming up, what to expect, what not to expect. That's a big thing, I think, is to keep people's expectations real and make sure everyone understands what the realities of court can be. And then that way people aren't as disappointed, I think, or caught off guard. So especially with victims, doing that out of court, taking what time I need to make sure they're comfortable with next steps. But I don't like doing that in court because there's a pressure there. Defendants, most of the time you have to do it in court because they haven't reached out to you and they haven't done the advisement and they haven't gotten to a place where they want to effectively really talk to you alone. So if they have and they reach out to me and they agree they want to talk to me and they agree that they're waiving their rights to an attorney to talk to me and everything else that goes along with that, then talking to them on the phone and giving them their chance to be heard and to understand their side of things outside of court is always better. If I have to do it in court, again, I think it's just listening is really the most effective way.
Thanks.
Thank you. And if you have any questions for us about the position or court, we will do our best to answer them.
Well, I've attended court, so I think I have an idea of how the court is run. I have come before when we were setting up Poncha Springs Court. We came and watched to see sort of how we wanted to run things and get an idea of that. So I have watched the municipal court here. I've talked with Judge Hardy-Moore about it, so I feel like I have a good feel for how Salida runs the court, so I don't really have many questions about that. I guess one question for you all is, how involved does the council like to be on individual cases?
I would say we tend to be hands-off in that regard, but obviously, if we hear of a situation that's been going on and on and on, we will get inquiries, people will reach out to us, and that puts it on our radar. But that doesn't happen all that frequently, but it does happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I'm happy to give reports or whatever if that's something that the council wants. But just was curious how often that occurs. It doesn't happen to me in Buena Vista much. I think I've had one call from the mayor who just needed clarification, and that was it, so.
I mean, the way I look at it, between the police department and the clerk's office, because they do a really good job of keeping us in the loop.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think that was all I was wondering.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you, guys.
Okay, department updates.
Hello.
That was a big smile.
Yes. Council member, do you have a question?
I have a question about this procedure.
Yes.
So looking ahead to tomorrow night, it's not really clear, and I didn't have a chance to look carefully yet at the packet, but it's not really clear who the prosecutor reports to as a contractor. Is it the council?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm wondering if how we would go about checking references to make our decision tomorrow night.
You could ask us to do that. I'm looking at Sarah. As a municipal court clerk, she might be the best person to call him and check references, if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be helpful for making a decision.
Okay. We will do that and provide that to you prior to the meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay,
Wonderful.
that's a good catch.
Great. Good evening. So staff wanted to take an opportunity this evening to provide council and the community with an update of what took place in 2023. You had in your packets the presentation that each of the departments was planning to go over with you. You also received a very beautiful community report that just hot off the presses about 10 minutes before the work session started. So you have that as well. If we could, each department head would just like to take a couple minutes to run through some of the highlights, answer any questions that you might have. We can go from there, if that works.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so I will start with what your highlights were for this year. In 2023, Sarah, could you go back? Sorry, one more time. Thanks. So the city council had reestablished this mission in 2023 to guide the future of the city through thoughtful and inclusive decision-making, preserving what makes Salida unique, and focusing on positive outcomes. You provide these core services to the community, again, reestablished at our council retreat in June. So in 2023, go to the next slide. We reestablished these 4 focused areas, and the departments have been, we've been looking at how to report back out to you all based on these focus areas, and we're going to talk about that a little bit on March 29th at our next retreat. So those focus areas include fiscal stability, internal operations, external communications and stakeholder engagement, and community infrastructure. So we brought in 2 new council members in 2023, a new treasurer, and you all passed a $49.5 million budget. Okay. So looking at administration, which includes city administration, as well as human resources and the sustainability coordinator. Again, our responsibility is to implement the policy that you all set forth. So ensuring that we coordinate effectively, efficiently across all the departments to meet your goals, implement and enforce those ordinances, policies, and procedures that you adopt, manage and direct all long-range planning and prioritizing the projects and programs that come forward within the city, and then serve as personnel director for the city as well. So in 2023, we were super excited to hire a sustainability coordinator and a public information officer, even more excited that it was Sarah Law. We codified the sustainability committee, which I think really shows the community how important the sustainability measures are for the city of Salida. We transferred vital records to Chaffee County Public Health, and I put this up here not as showing that we got rid of something, but showing that we took the time. So Heather Wright was our vital records person for the city of Salida, and we were doing death certificates for everyone in the county. Poncha Springs, Town of Buena Vista, City of Salida, Chaffey County residents. And Heather did a fabulous job. And she was very, very busy. And we wanted to make sure that she could really focus her time, energy, and efforts in the city of Salida, working in the Human Resources Department, working with our employees. So we successfully transferred that over to Chaffey County Public Health, which is where it is in a lot of other counties. So we really were able to streamline that process, which made a big difference in our office. So you all know we have 90 full-time employees. Based on the number of employees that we have and the number of residents that we have, each employee is serving almost 65 residents every day. So it's I don't know, it's kind of cool to think about, how hard and busy how hard everyone's working, how busy everyone is. We scored a perfect score in our CIRSA audit, which helps bring our insurance down. It shows that our employees are really committed to getting the training that they need to keep the city running smoothly, legally, effectively. 2024, moving forward, if you have any questions, we'll talk about this as well at our retreat on the 29th. We do want to increase our proactive communication with the community, highlight more of the goals that you all have that meet the 4 services that we're providing, and increase our training hours for city employees by 5%. We think it's really important to make sure that our employees are trained in best management practices and continue to provide awesome service to everybody. So that's city administration.
Hello, Council and Mayor. The Finance Department, our small office my small office that consists of 4 employees, is very devoted to improving the public trust through open communication and clear financial information that we disseminate. We coordinate the annual budget. We put together all the material that the auditors audit and get that processed in time, put together reports that are fully within the best practices recommended by GFOA, so that we get awards for the presentation, which makes them complete and full. And also we operate the accounting department. All the accounting, process the bills, keep the electricity on, process payroll, receivables, utility billing, debt management, cash management, all that good stuff that accountants do. Our highlights for 2023 is we updated the city financial management plan. We don't have the opportunity to issue certificates of participation very often. It's a very big job. There's a lot involved in it. For the first time in decades, we did get a Standard & Poor rating and achieved a rating of A-, which is very good for a small municipality like us. We implemented an updated purchasing policy. We centralized the financial management of grants received by the city. We prepared our award-winning annual budget document and annual comprehensive financial report, and just overall made improvements in financial processes of the city. Just a reminder, we did all adopt together a very large budget, $49.5 million. It's a record for us, but it's because the fire station is in there. It'll go back down to more around the $32 billion level next year. And we do process over 4,500 invoices a year. For 2024, we're going to keep us on track with that $49.5 million budget we adopted. We're going to work with the rest of the administration team to develop a fiscal emergency plan to get us through lean times and, other times that, might happen when we have to make an adjustment to how our spending plan is going. And we'll continue to strive for openness and improved understanding of the city's finances. And cross-training efforts are going to be a big deal in our office this year.
Thank you. Thought for a second you were on the spot.
As Christy wants.
The clerk's office, a lot of our core services are in regards of keeping records for the city, processing licenses, processing Open Records Act requests, and then supporting municipal court. So over here in the numbers, you can see that we were busy. That's the moral of that story. Some of the things that we're really proud of is that we translated our advisement of rights into Spanish. So now we have a Spanish and English version, and it's been utilized a handful of times in court. We also have interpretation for not just Spanish, but pretty much any language that comes in front of the court through an awesome program called Language Link. We gently tried not to, but kind of lectured our staff on record retention and best management practices, and they still, I think, are friends, so I think we won on that one. Instituted a Shred Day and managed the 2023 coordinated election. So moving forward, a lot of what the court is going to be doing is creating a paper light court, meaning that we're going to minimize paper wasted. And I would say probably the biggest thing would be training a new clerk and hiring a deputy clerk, which is going to be very exciting for the city.
Did Josie do that?
Thanks, Christy.
You're welcome.
was Emmy?
I asked for graphics, and that's what he sent me, so
She
that's
got her
what happens.
graphics.
Is
That's
that building over
child
35?
child labor laws being violated here.
The one building over 35
Other way,
feet
Bill.
tall.
Bill, go the other way. Bill, that's not yours.
What's that?
That's not your slide.
Oh, you didn't want me to just repeat what Sarah just said? All right, 2023 was pretty busy for the Community Development Department. Pretty much record-breaking, at least tied with our previous records. 248 building permits is equal to 3 times the amount that we were doing just 9 years ago. 172 residential units is approximately 4 times the number of residential units that we were doing 10 years ago. A lot of stuff going on for sure in our small little department. Some other highlights, Prop 123, we were the very first community in the state to sign up and commit to that, which has made us eligible for a variety of funding out there through that particular proposition. As you all know, First and D, the derelict buildings there were taken down after we acquired them last year. Just as a reminder, Wednesday evening, we actually have an open house to look at the latest designs for the workforce housing units planned for that site. Land use code, we continue to work on the update to that. It's a gigantic process, but we are in the midst of installment 3, which is the last of the installments prior to going into the consolidated draft. So we hope to have that done sometime later this summer. Future land use map, which the city never had actually, to add to the comprehensive plan. Completed the South Arc neighborhood master plan after approximately a year's worth of planning on that. Helped in securing additional parking downtown via lease. Got a couple of really nice grants to go towards First and D, and potential future senior affordable housing project on the east side of town. Looking at 2024, we are hoping to increase staffing at least a little bit to keep up with the amount of work that we're doing in the department. Anticipated completion of the First and D apartments design and going after funding so that we could start up with that construction hopefully at the end of this year, beginning of next. Continue work and looking after funding for infrastructure out at the South Arc neighborhood. We just gave a presentation actually just the other day. We hope to hear back about in the next couple of weeks. Hope to facilitate development for low-income apartments for senior town, which I mentioned. Finalize that new land use code keep doing what we do on a daily basis as far as building permits, administrative reviews, other land use reviews, and assisting y'all with understanding the various projects and programs coming through us. Handing it over to Russ.
Thanks.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Last year was a good year. We had a lot of good cases. We got 100% staff for the first time in 7 years, and that lasted for 16 days.
Sweet
16 blessed days.
It was 16 good days. Due to some of the staffing issues, our goal of hitting the 200 training hours per officer didn't happen. We ended up with 154, still puts us in the top echelon of the state. Overall calls last year, we went from, in 2019, we had just under 5,400 calls for service, and that's everything like from, hey, there's a dog running wild, to an assault downtown or domestic or anything in between that. Last year we had the 10,660. That's a 98% increase since 2019 for the city of Salida. A lot of that's due to the growth, a lot of people in town, more problems for us, and some of the court things that are happening at the moment aren't conducive to keeping people in, so we're dealing with a lot of repeat people over and over and over. 32% up just year over last in call volume. Some of the highlights, we had accidents were up. We had 258 accidents in the city of Salida last year. That seems like a high number. We're doing some studies right now to try to figure out where those are happening in town the most, to see if we can do some traffic enforcement around that to maybe prevent some. But that seems like a shockingly high number for us. It was up 50 for this last year. Wow. Domestics were up 40%. Trespassing was up 65%. Harassment was up 50%. Theft was up 10%. And last year was our record theft year, so it's just continually going up. We ended up with 311 arrests last year. That number is up from the year prior, but down over a few other years. We're taking a statewide approach to more citations where things used to be jailable. Now they're citations. And you see that in the increase in citations that were issued last year over the previous year. Let me go on to the next page. Sarge had a pretty productive year. I'd just like to highlight what he does. We had 11 fluid ounces of methamphetamine taken off the streets, 91 grams of meth, 7 grams cocaine. We don't see a lot of cocaine in Chaffee County. That's not a drug of choice around here. The 58 grams of fentanyl that were taken off the street is enough to kill every person in the city of Salida. So that's a good number of fentanyl that's taken off the street. The psilocybin, yes, they're legal. Today, they passed that law the last go around. However, you're not allowed to distribute that, and that was a distribution case where we had 126 grams on an individual. GHB and prescription pills, with the way the pharmacies are handling that, we're seeing a big decrease in that. Some of the interdepartmental issues were down a couple of officers again. I did get the guy back that broke his leg last year. Officer Dwyer's back at it for 4 weeks, and then he has to go back in for a surgery to remove all the hardware. He'll be out 2 more months. Officer Aiden Osborne, who's been with us for going on 9 years now, is getting married next month and moving to Colorado Springs. So we're quickly going to be down 4 officers here in the next 4 or 5 weeks. We're going to juggle some staffing around to cover some shortages, cover it with a little bit of overtime. We did have a hiring process. We just hired, thanks to the pay plan, we got some interest this time. Just hired a kid from Saguache, who's a certified officer that will start here next month. We hired a kid that we're going to send to the academy in August. He'll be on the road probably June, July of next year to fill a spot. And then we've got some other academy students that are interested in applying. So hopefully we'll get those filled here in the next few months. It'll take probably a year and a half to get all the positions completely filled. But we're chugging along, a busy year. And any questions? It's kind of quick, but any questions?
Thank you for spelling out most of your acronyms. I don't know city acronyms or police acronyms because I have my own world of public lands acronyms. But what does GHB stand for?
You would ask me that right now.
Sorry. Never heard of that one.
It's more, I can't think of the actual name off the top of my head right now. Drawing a blank, and I'm congested as heck if you can't
No worries.
hear.
I'll
But it's basically similar to MDMA. It's more of a,
Can't answer.
yeah, I answered it with another acronym. Say that
you.
word again.
Gamma hydroxybutyrate.
There you go.
Thank you.
Looks like Christy might have.
And we only see that here in a liquid form. We've never had it in any other form.
And then can you say a little bit more about the 40% increase in domestics? What does that mean?
You know, it hasn't stopped this year. It's been, I mean, we had 5 in one weekend, a couple weekends ago.
Is it domestic assault or just
Domestic
a
assault,
call?
domestic violence in harassment, assault. We've had sexual assault that's been domestic. It's not just like our local community. The thing we get tasked with is we have all the visitors that come here and all the hotels or people renting a house for the night. So that's where we had 5 in one weekend last month, and 4 of the 5 were visitors to Salida. It wasn't local people. So they're in a hotel, they're drinking, they're doing whatever, and things get heated, and then we end up going over there and dealing with it. So it's not, I wouldn't say that it's everybody in our community. It's we deal with our community and everybody outside of that.
I'm so glad I don't vacation that way.
And the majority of them are drug and alcohol caused. Sorry, I got something on the plane this weekend. Sucks.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First slide I have up here is Salida Fire Department's core services. I kind of wanted to highlight the bottom section. As most people know, the top section are things we do every day. The bottom section, so for 2023, we had 293 fire inspections and 31 plans reviews that went through the office. And that second tier, what we do with emergency preparedness is we work in cooperation with the emergency management to develop preparedness plans, evacuation plans, and emergency response plans. And then to highlight some of the community service hours, we had 167 staff hours in community service. We participate in programs like Baba's Magical Christmas. We teamed with Parks and Recs and Arkansas Headwaters Recreation Area for our Life Jacket program. We read to multiple children's groups, and we do fire safety education programs, community education programs. We presented about the Safe Haven program recently, and we do the bike safety with Absolute Bikes. Up. Oh, sweet, thanks. We had 1,132 calls for service in 2023. 54% of our calls are medical in nature. 46 of the rest of the calls are fire in nature. We've had a steady rise, just like Chief Johnson. As our city grows, our call volume has also increased. Just to highlight a couple significant fires that we had a large structure fire in Swissvale, and we had a machinery fire in Smeltertown that caused significant damage. The last and final slide is the 2023 progress of our new fire station. It was hard not to put a progress picture now because it is so much more than what these pictures are showing right now. So from top to bottom, that's November 7th. We broke ground on the 3rd, so the first picture is November 7th. Second one was the 21st after the site was grubbed, and the last one was December the 19th. Any questions for me?
Thank you very much.
One other thing is the masons will start the end of this week, so we should start seeing some vertical stuff the end of this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. Just as a reminder, Public Works covers a lot of different divisions with the city. We have water, wastewater, stormwater, our fleet, and streets. And some of the items I noted here, just a couple of items that have either changed this past year or a couple of innovative things that we've been working on pretty much behind the scenes. You probably wouldn't know about it unless I really mentioned it. So wanted to go over a few things. One, street sweeping scheduling. This is something that we have kind of overhauled this past year. It used to be more of a focus on our downtown, but we really do have a schedule for the whole town now. It happens in the first week of the month. We have a webpage that, if anyone's interested, that's available online, and it helps certainly keep down sediment control as far as what's making it to the river, and keeps our streets looking nice. Our multi-use facility and fleet, thought I'd mention that. It's kind of been a multi-year project, building some offices over at our multi-use facility out on Highway 50. Once the fire station completes their move, we'll have quite a bit of space open up there where we really want to expand our fleet services and the types of equipment we can work on locally, et cetera. So that is in progress. Smart meters, they really are a pretty cool product that allows our customers, water customers, to log into an app or their water account, see real-time water consumption, identifies leaks, helps with water conservation, allows people to better program their irrigation systems. And we're knocking out about $700 a year. It's several $100,000 a year as well to program that, and several thousand hours of labor to keep that occurring each year, but we are more than half complete with those installations across the city, and it's pretty neat software. Asset management, it's kind of a generalized term anymore, but it really is looking at the probability of failure of our assets compared to the consequence of that failure. And so really the only way you can efficiently manage, miles of street or thousands of water pieces of infrastructure is having a lot of data, doing condition assessment. I had some slides there, or some pictures to the right that sort of show what we see in the office. The top one is our street grid, and it's all color coded. So we do a geotechnical investigation every few years to look at the condition. And so each color gives me guidance on, a certain grade of deterioration means it can be chip sealed or slurry sealed, and the next grade down of distress means an overlay, and then the streets that are, say, red and orange essentially need to be rebuilt. And so that's really how we prioritize street projects when it's condition-based, is through that data. And similarly with our water and sewer system, primarily on the sewer side, we do digital inspection every 3 years for every single line in the city, and we get similar structural ratings. Again, that's how we prioritize those projects. Lastly, I wanted to mention sustainability measures, especially since the city has Sarah now on board to help further that program. On the public works side of things, the asphalt recycling is really something that there is a lot. It sounds simple, but there's quite a bit of innovation that's happening in the industry. On Poncha Boulevard alone, it was a 6-figure savings to the project just by processing the asphalt in place. They processed it, reused it as the road base, and built the road above it. So there's many truckloads of material that did not need to be transported off the site and then back on as a different material. Water conservation, the city, whether it's Parks and Rec or even through some public works programs, there's changes and through our smart meters, there's a lot happening there. I think even the bigger item to really address it citywide will be discussed when we start talking about our water and sewer rates. And lastly, biosolids composting. Not a very big program currently, but we do have 200 tons a year that you're welcome to take advantage of. So hopefully Sarah can help promote that a little bit more. A lot of communities are blending in wood chips and other things. We actually create a Class A biosolids, which is can be used essentially anywhere. So
Christmas gifts?
Sure.
Stocking stuffers.
Is that human manure?
It is. instead of coal, you can use that for somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to highlight our capital projects, this is a map that is in the budget document, but just a quick recap. On the north side, we had Pasquale Springs that got completed, and it's online. We're waiting on a generator. We have the RFP out currently for State Highway 291 for the design from the hospital to Marvin Park, and so that will include bike lanes, curb and gutter, and sidewalk. A little dot there for the caboose. I made it over there twice this past year to help provide a little guidance. It's looking really good. It's pretty much 100% complete. We just need Red Mountain Pass to thaw off so we can get it here. Holman and Poncha Boulevard intersection remains, but the Poncha Boulevard project is about 90% complete. If, as you may recall, a large portion of our 2024 street funds went into that 2023 construction to expedite the work there, and fortunately, most of that got done. On the east side of town there, noted a lot in orange, the mill and overlaid streets, as well as Oak Street, which the design has been fully completed and actually went to CDOT over this weekend, so hopefully we bid that out here very, very soon. And some other sidewalk projects there in the works. So I think that's pretty much it, unless you have questions.
Questions for David? Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, so we don't have a core services slide, but you pretty much get the gist of what we do. We are here for the recreation, health, the general quality of life stuff for citizens of Salida. So we manage 17 parks for 36 acres. We have 360 acres of open space, 726 sprinkler heads, 62 picnic tables, 99 trash cans. So lots of little stuff. We have about 80 employees, part-time and full-time. And this year we had 57,000 people visit the pool. Yeah, you can see, so those are, our recreation participants grew again this year. So if you can recall, well, and for new council members, you wouldn't recall, but we were down in 2020, we had about 260 participants. Last year we had 2,700 participants. This year we're up 3,009 participants. So people are coming out, I'll call it post-COVID, not really sure, but some of the pictures that you see there, we have installed a pump track at Centennial Park, continuing to fulfill the master plan concept for Centennial Park, as well as we cut the ribbon. Councilwoman Nakarada was there, and cut the ribbon on a splash pad. We also had our first kind of older baseball league this year. You can scroll, Sarah? Is that still us? Yeah, okay. Numbers, some of the sustainability stuff since 2002. So we had a 5% decrease in our water consumption this year, or in 2003. And that was on top of what was a 35% decrease in 2002 from 2001. So from 2001, we then decreased 35%.
21?
I've got it. What did I say?
20.
Sure, yes. Yes. Imagine what I'm saying. I don't have the report. I actually thought I had it up. But yeah, so 35% decrease, then an additional 5% decrease. So we keep sustainability at kind of the core of what we're working on. And a couple other things to note. We did plant 124 trees this year, mainly along the Monarch Spur, in a project in collaboration with the Forest Service. And we had some pretty interesting data. We finally tracked data. We have a year's worth of data from our trail counters. So not entirely accurate because they're just every time the beam is broken, but Councilmember Casper had asked earlier in the year how many people use and travel from Sands Lake out to Franz Lake. And we finally have that number at, that beam was broken 83,000 times. So kind of up for how much our City of Salida citizens use that area. It's at least some data for you. Some other interesting things, FIBARC, or not in this order, Labor Day, FIBARC, 4th of July, our busiest weekends in Riverside Park. Memorial Day, I'm sorry. Memorial Day, FIBARC on the 4th of July. The dog park is extremely popular. Over 225,000 people have gone out the gate at the Arkansas Hills parking lot. And some interesting data, while 199,000 people crossed Holman and the Monarch Spur Trail, so have passed through that intersection, only 77,000 have crossed, did I say Holman? 199 passed Sackett and the Monarch Spur, and only 77,000 made it all the way out to Holman. So there's we have definitely a concentrated downtown use. So yeah, capital projects. The pool is pretty homeostasis at this point with our updated water flow controls and our temperature control systems. And we're starting in this coming year on a water line replacement and a bicycle skills park in the Arkansas Hills, right there at the base of the Arkansas Hills. And still pushing forward, making progress on the soaking pools. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you.
Mayor, Council. The Arts and Culture Department oversees operations and programming for the steam plant, the Scout at Riverside Park during the summer, and the Creative District. And one of the things Tina will talk about is how we were recertified. We're one of two that were recertified for a third 5-year term, the Creative District. We manage the steam plant, the Scout at events, which include all kinds of things. We also do the Salida Jazz Fest. We do a film festival. We do gallery shows. We do educational programs, which Tina will get into a little more. We also partner with local and regional groups. One new partnership for us is with the Salida Council for the Arts. And the council and the Arts and Culture Department is going to partner to manage Art Walk starting this year. And there's big news about that with the date. We're changing the date with the input of the galleries and people downtown to October. And one thing that you may not realize that we do, we put these meetings on the air. We put the planning commissions on the air, and we manage the YouTube channel. And just hired 2 new people because Rick Spradlin decided to move to Washington State. By the numbers, this is slide 3, there we go. Over 500 hosted events, 35,000 people we served through our facilities, 350 organizations served, 104 creative focused events, and 13,412 people attended free events at one of our facilities this past year. And I'd like to introduce Tina Grauman, if you don't know her, our community outreach engagement.
Community Engagement Supervisor. Thank you, Michael. Hello, Council. So I get to go over the highlights. I've been with Arts and Culture a little over a year now, and so we just get to cover these highlights. I hope you've heard about some of this work by Arts and Culture in the Creative District. So just some brief ones. We have been implementing the strategic plan that Council approved last fall, which helps provide direction, vision, and new opportunities within the Creative District downtown area. And so we have moved really on all of the strategic checklists. So I feel like you can feel confident that we've gone forward with all of those. And some of those things include deeper outreach and engagement with the community, more opportunities for artists such as public art commission calls, really thinking deeply about Salida as a sustainable place to live and work for creatives. So things like collaborations with the community development for the art space building. And also we've started talks with the Community Foundation to address a donor-advised fund, which can provide grants for creatives. So just trying to really think of all those things that can help artists stay and live and work in Salida. Okay, exciting. Like Michael said, we received the recertification of the Creative District this year. We have a new website. So all of the Salida area creatives can join the website, and they can also list their events. So it's like a comprehensive, like kind of clearinghouse. If you want to know what's going on or who you can collaborate with, you can go there. And we've created some new programs. So last summer was the first of 6 full-day, full-week summer camps. We start our next round this summer. But again, this is an opportunity for our artists to have another source of revenue and also share their talent and skill with the children of Salida. They can really kind of internalize that value that we have right here. Also, expanded outreach and community engagement for artists. And so this is really just all of those small group meetings, those one-on-one meetings with gallery business owners and artists to find out, what's important to you and how can we collaborate. Okay, so let's look at 2024 then. 2024 slide, thank you. So we'll continue the implementation of the Creative District Strategic Plan, expand the programming, and then like Michael referred to, so exciting plans for Art Walk, which moves to October 11, 12, and 13, and that's after a lot of dialogue with a lot of stakeholders, really thinking about that special weekend in the fall to really help promote that as an event separate from all of the summer activities and really help put that message out there about coming to Salida in the fall for a very art-focused weekend. And a new festival that's coming up in the summer is the Salida Chalk Festival. So that will be fun to see our artists present their work out in public and also invite the community, maybe youth teams, et cetera, create some fun work. And then also, a strong priority is helping to support the Public Arts Commission and getting increased awareness, visibility, and letting the artists know about the opportunities through the Public Art Commission. Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
How many times this year would you foresee asking for like a closure, partial closure of F Street for these events? Or for I guess overall?
Oh, certainly. Chalk Festival, of course, it'd be ideal to have that in the street like you would see in other communities. I've heard of some other requests, just talking to other event coordinators. I think Pride was considering doing a closure so they could have some activity out in the street. So a few.
Okay.
Art Walk would not be asking.
Art Walk won't be. Okay.
Rather push people to the sidewalks where the galleries are.
So a few. Okay. Got it.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Special events.
So this is really just an opportunity for a little bit of back and forth. I thought we would take the opportunity. One of the other things that changed last year, special events was kind of a collaborative effort in 2022 between the clerks and Parks and Recreation and variety of departments. And in 2023, it shifted into arts and culture. And then towards the end of 2023, Tina was hired to do that position, and her position evolved kind of at council's request. And so the special event coordination is coming back to Parks and Recreation. And in doing so, there's also been some evolution of the clerk's office a little bit as well, and what kind of the bandwidth and what their wheelhouse is. So I wanted to explain a little bit about what the current special event what we are proposing to be the current special event process in an attempt to streamline and get special events to be easier to put on in the city of Salida, mainly for event coordinators, but also on city staff. We found ourselves chasing our tails a lot, trying to track down who had what permit and was the liquor license, has it been submitted, and who needed amplified sound. And I'll just kind of jump. So if you haven't read the memo, the other thing would be we did add a $100 processing fee to special events because they do take time. And we'll be looking at the end of this presentation for a little bit of guidance from you as to what do you want to know about special events in the city of Salida. So let's, yeah, go ahead. Who am I looking at? Sarah? Hi, Sarah. Go ahead again. So currently, special events, if you're an event organizer and you want to hold a special event, go to our website, go to Parks and Recreation, click on special events. Go ahead, Sarah. Hold a special event, click here, go ahead. And you get to a very elaborate form. Lots of if-then statements. How many people are going to be at your event? Are you going to close a roadway? Are you going to have liquor? Are you going to have vendors, more than one vendor? And much of these things were asked of the organizer in separate applications last year. So there was a multi-vendor application along with an amplified sound application and a multi-vendor application. And what we've done is we've pulled them all into one interface. And so based on your answers to these questions, you're defaulted into having to upload your amplified sound location and requests for hours, or your vendor list and your county beverage.
Public health
Approval,
yeah.
Yeah, like that you got clean hands and all that stuff. So what we tried to do is use existing technology. We really poured through our code. Tina, Sarah, Maggie Clark, who is currently serving, is fulfilling all the duties of special event coordination, myself, and we looked and we found who is actually responsible for approving what. If you remember last year, the year before, you guys switched from amplified sound having to come to city council for approval to being administrator approval. So we've just kind of updated and refreshed our entire application process to keep it much more digital, to keep it much more streamlined. It's going to one desk, and then it's kind of disseminating out from there. So go ahead, Sarah. And we could click on that and walk you through the form, but it does take, it's a pretty healthy form. This is impossible to read, but it's pretty much the 17-step application review and approval process for special events. And you can see the responsible parties are up here, and city council at this point is kind of the last of the process. Whereas every department is involved at least in attends the special events meeting, but other departments are looped in depending on what the request is. Closing of a right of way, public works.